Welcome to the latest episode of Here's What We Know, the podcast of unexpected conversations. Now, before I get started, I want to thank my sponsors and encourage you to explore their businesses because without them, I can't do this. Now, when I told my wife, who my guest was today, she looked at me and she goes, "How did you pull that off?"
You're like, I don't even know.
Are you like a wizard or something? Because we are big fans of the Good Bones TV show that was on HGTV that you did with your family. And I said, yeah, babe, that's really cool. But what I really need to do is get everybody up to speed on her amazing podcast, Mina AF. This is Mina Starsiak Hawk. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I am very excited. A buddy of mine said, because we were talking about something and about actually HGTV shows and stuff. And he's the one who goes, "Have you heard Mina Hawk's podcast?" Because he knows I do a podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "She has podcasts?" Because everybody has one. And I said, okay. And I'm like, so I tuned in and started listening. And I even wrote this to you. And when I wrote back, I said, "Oh my God, I'm binging it. No spoilers. Don't tell me what happens."
It's a bit of a leap from the HGTV show, that's for sure.
You know what I love? And let me tell you that this is a singular talent that you should not overlook. Your ability to monologue is amazing.
Well, when you say it like that, it's a compliment. It's just talk incessantly, which to some people is not quite as appealing. But thank you.
No, I tell you, now I like it when you have on guests, but I'm not going to lie. I like it a little better when it's just you.
No, honestly, those episodes have done better, which puts a lot of pressure on. It's like, okay, I got to come up with just my own ramblings all the time now. But it seems to not just be you.
Well, no, because you are vulnerable. I know more about you than I know about anybody past my wife. Now, you got to understand, I've been doing radio for a long time. I have a partner who I've done it for 25 years with.
Yeah.
And I throw her into that. I know more about you and what's going on because there's literally, you don't put up walls. Now, you respect people's privacy. Let me say that. That's the amazing tightrope you walk, is that you are very vulnerable and yet you are still very cognizant of other people's boundaries.
I try to be.
You do a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, and the fact that you're very honest with your mommy makeovers, the fact that you're very honest with your marriage and the episode with Steve and about why you went sober, I mean, was a gut punch, was wonderful, was loving. And you know how, and it showed how you guys made these decisions. Here's the math. Here's the 2, here's the 6, here's the 9, divide by 4.
Yeah.
You know, it is, I'm not sure I have ever been and I try to be pretty open, but I don't know if I've done that.
I think it's definitely, there's enough people that really appreciate it that like send in messages and voicemails and stuff that it definitely makes it worth still doing it. For some people, they definitely would think and say it's oversharing. But I think for me, it's just always been, because social media, even for me, even, you know, and I'm sure you get it a little bit more like, you know, the back end of things, the back end of TV and social media and what's real and what's not, even knowing it, consuming content is hard for me as an adult to not like get sucked in and compare myself and say, well, they're doing this, I should be doing more, I should look like this. So I guess I just wanted to take off, you know, that shiny facade. Like there are a lot of amazing things that having a TV show and having the platform have done, but there's also a lot of just like really normal, everyday bullshit things that everyone goes through that I go through as well. And I think, you know, people tend like, don't put me up on a pedestal because then I'll just fall down. I'm just like all of you, and I am fit because I work my butt off, and my boobs are perky because I got new ones after babies. And you know, I don't want anyone comparing themselves to me thinking they can just work out and it's going to happen. Like, because that sucks. Like, then it's very unattainable.
Did it get exasperated? Because the one thing that I've always tell people, you have no understanding of how much the world changes when it's a national platform.
Yeah.
Right? That it's one thing to have a local thing. It's one thing to be a local TV news anchor. It's another thing to have a national platform.
Yeah.
And when somebody in Des Moines or in outside of Phoenix or somewhere in Tennessee is seeing you and having that moment, and unfortunately, a lot of people, again, the comment section. I wish we get rid of the comment section. And you know what? I really wish we get rid of the comment section. I wish we get rid of the comment section for females. And I know that sounds sexist.
No, women are the worst. We are awful to each other. There's not dudes dropping in saying like nasty shit to me. It is women saying nasty shit to women. And it's rough because like everyone wants you to do well, but like not better than them. So like, yeah, get fit, but don't get more fit than me. Like, yeah, be successful, but don't be more successful than me. Anything that like we perceive as a threat, and then we're just awful to each other.
Well, and then you've got that going, and I just find that TV had to accentuate that, right? I mean, that's not Mina Starsiak from 15 years ago.
No, I mean 100%, and it's like the show airs in Brazil, and it airs like internationally. So there's people all across the world where I have put my life onto this like public platform. And I think a lot of people think when you make that decision, then you kind of lose the right to privacy. And luckily, I don't really care much about privacy, as you can tell from my podcast. But I think that's also kind of the way to combat it. Like, at least I'm telling my own story. And people are still going to fill in the blanks because a lot of people aren't going to listen to my podcast. A lot of them, to be honest, don't know how. That's just the age gap with the viewers on the network sometimes. And, they don't want different or new information. But I think that's, what I try to do there is kind of fill in the blanks and give the information so people don't have to make their own incorrect assumptions. And they're going to do it anyways. But I think it definitely helps.
I thought and I was listening, and I thought you did something that was very smart. And I say that because I made that decision many, many years ago. I'm not going to worry about the people who don't like me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry about the people who don't enjoy what I do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to super serve the people who do enjoy what I do. Yeah. And when somebody sits back, especially being in broadcasting, somebody will go, "Oh, I don't listen to you." And my response is, "It's okay. I don't listen to you either." It's fine. I mean, it's a complete quid pro quo.
Yeah.
But it's different on the national scale.
Well, it's just different, I think, as well, because of the nature of the network that I'm on. We used to joke all the time, like Good Bones After Dark. You could make a million other shows with the content we have, just because the nature of HGTV is to be positive and to be uplifting and, show all these fun moments, like just enough drama to make you tune back in after the commercial. But it's not Bravo. And while it's shown a very like accurate depiction of me and my family and my friends and my life, it's just a snippet. I mean, we filmed full time all year round, Monday through Friday, and you get 13 episodes times 42 minutes. So it created the HGTV chunk of me that is part of me, but then there's also like the Mina AF part of me, and I curse like a sailor, and I probably don't shower enough, and all these other things.
I was going to bring that up. I need to shower much. I need to brush my hair, and I really get a lot better about brushing my teeth.
I am so bad about it, and my husband hates it because he has the best dental hygiene, and he's had cavities and gum issues, and I'm terrible, and I have no issues. The worst. And I'm honest with my dentist. They're like, "You floss regularly?" I'm like, "Maybe once a month." That's about it.
When's the last time you flossed? Well, you were here. I mean, right? I mean, you should remember. You were the ones who did it.
You did the flossing.
Well, and when it comes to cameras, because I've had on people from Survivor and Amazing Race and stuff like that, and they all say after a while the cameras, because it's different because you were saying Monday through Friday. For them, it is nonstop every day, every second. There's times you can talk, there's times you can't talk, but otherwise it's just nonstop, and they become the background. Yeah. Did it ever get that way for you?
Well, I think what's really strange about mom and I is it was never weird to have them there. I remember when they first like landed in Indy, there's this really cool graffiti festival that happens every year, and they're like, we're gonna walk around the graffiti festival and we're gonna record you guys, like just what you're doing. And I was so confused. I was like, why are we doing this? Like, this has nothing to do with what we do. And it was cool, whatever. We wandered around, we talked to people, they filmed us. And then at the end, I was like, I just don't like, where are you guys gonna use this? And like, oh, we're not at all. Like, just a lot of people need to get used to having the cameras there, but you guys just don't give a shit. Like, you're fine. You don't act weird. You don't like freeze up. And I get it now that I've done reveals with so many people who it's their first time on camera and they like don't move their arms and they're like little robots. And I think that is normal. That is a very normal reaction. My mom and I are abnormal. And from the beginning, the one thing that was hard was remembering that you're always mic'd. So if you talk shit, everyone hears you. And, there's so many times at the beginning where the producer's saying something and I'll be like, I don't fucking get it. Like, why the fuck that makes no fucking sense. And then I'm like, oh God, they can hear me. They can't hear me. So I just started having fun with it. Like, I'd go to the porta potty and I'd be like, hey, Tim, you want to know what's in my poop today? They're just pouring in my poop today. And I would just like talk to the sound guy if I forgot to tell him to turn my mic off. And a lot of times it was just the sound guy listening and he didn't have it like going out to everyone yet. So I'd have a lot of just like one-on-one conversations with him that were silly. And you could see him from like 20 feet away, just like his shoulders laughing because he's chuckling about something. That was hard. But the cameras, I think because I grew up in such a big, crazy shit show of a family. It was like, oh, just more shit show of a family. That's
That's because that's something as we talk about the show, that's the one thing that we truly have learned. If you're a fan of the podcast, and I think you guys can tell by now, I am, is that the show did not show anything of what your world. You said it was a snippet, but the truth of it is, there was no way. When I found out the depth. And when I found out your story, because I remember watching the show and I would go, I wonder where dad is. Right? Because there was not a lot of dad. It was a lot of mom. And then you start going, well, they must be divorced. But usually these shows, maybe he's still alive, maybe he's not. But if they're not alive, then usually they say something.
Yeah.
And it's just something that's never discussed, but you don't think anything about it. And then when I started listening to your podcast and found, wow, you guys are a Netflix series waiting to happen. I mean, they are. They got the Crown. The Crown's got nothing on you guys. People would be waiting for season 3 of the Starsiak syndrome.
Starsiak shit show, yeah.
The Starsiak shit show. That is such a crazy thing as far as I'm not going to ask you to repeat everything and all that, but just touch that. But I mean, it was an amazing story. Mother and father didn't really get along, divorced, they got remarried, had more kids. You have
I have bunches. 7 siblings that are all like yours, mine, and ours. There's been a handful of marriages on each side.
Wow. Right. And then you go through that, and then there was issues, and here you go, decide to be a female in construction in Indianapolis.
Yep. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. I actually had therapy this morning. Love it. And I was talking to her because I was like, just everyone fucking hates me. My employees hate me. My family is mad at me. I have like no time to have friendships and like take care of those. I am just unliked. My contractors are awful. They think I'm the worst. And she was like, you're a woman trying to run business. Like, you're not going to have a lot of friends and you just have to be okay with that. Like, if this was Steve, who's there with me, he was like, if Steve was doing a lot of this, he would have a 10th of the issues you're having just because you are a female entrepreneur, particularly in the construction field. And then you put a spotlight on that with a national TV show. It just kind of levels it up a bunch. And it kind of sucks. It's kind of sucky some days.
What do you love about it?
I love that I get to do something different every day. I guess post-college, I've never had like a 9 to 5. I like waited tables. I did real estate, but I've never had like a real job where I had to wear a uniform or real pants. And so I like that. Like I'm in my yoga pants and my hoodie, and I'm 40 almost. And I like that it's like everything's a problem to solve. And 1000% some days I'm like, I would love to stop solving problems. I would love today to just be fucking easy. But I also know myself well enough to know that if every day was easy, I'd be really bored. So I think that's the big part of it. And right now it's just this like trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up now that the show's done. And I've had to make a lot of, tough choices and transitions. And it's almost like too many options. Like I like renovating a house because at least you have constraints. Like you have to work inside, the footprint and do this and that. If I'm doing new construction, I'm like, oh my God, I could do whatever I want. And that's what life feels like right now. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands because I have the luxury. It's a real asshole like problem to have to figure out like, what I want to do now.
I was talking to the CEO of a large company one time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what would you say your job is? He goes, I solve problems. That's what I do. And he goes, and I only solve the big problems. I have people underneath me who solve all the small problems. So the only problems I see are big problems.
Yeah.
And it could help you to remember being the boss. You're not seeing the small problems. You're just getting the crap, big problems, issues. Somebody's not doing that. And he's like, it makes it a lot easier to know when I go up every day. It's like, well, these are big problems. And then he goes, and then I start categorizing them.
Mm-hmm.
These people think these are big problems. Now, where do I put it on my board? Yeah, not a big problem. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
And so for you, now that you have so many things going on.
Yeah.
Right?
And the team is me and like two other people now. It's Brittany is like my counterpart. And then I have my manager at the store. But, I had 12 employees when we were doing 13 houses at one time. And I was kind of trying very much to delegate. I'm not good at it because I think everyone else is terrible at doing the thing. And I'm like, just let me do all the things and it'll be fine. But then I can't, and I do none of the things well. But now it really is such a small team. It is all the problems. Yesterday, we have a house that's getting demolished because it cannot be fixed. And the demolition contractor, shocker, is a dude. I've worked with him a bunch of times, and he's like, keep sending me videos. He's like, I need you to come here. I need you to meet me. This is a problem. And we're very close to the houses next door. And I was like, did the geography change since you decided to do this job and give me a bid? Did the house move? Did the houses next to it get closer? I'm confused. What is the problem? Like, this is what you're good at. Me coming and looking at it, I don't do demolition at this level. I need you to tell me a solution or a couple options of solutions, and then I will pick one if we have a problem. But I don't just want to come there and wander around with you. Like, I have all the time in the world to do that. Like, I need you to do your job. And if there's a problem with doing your job, tell me the solution to the problem. And people just don't like that, especially coming from a woman. It's not. He's like, I don't understand why you're getting so upset. I just need you. I'm like, I'm not upset. I'm just stating facts. Bring me a solution. I'll tell you if it's acceptable. We'll move on. Finish your job. I'll pay you. But they want more words, and they want you to be like, oh, well, how was your day first before we talk about the problem? And this will come, and we'll hold hands, and we'll walk the site, and it'll be great. And I just have very little interest in that.
I love that from one of your podcasts. You were talking about, you've been working on your management style because I don't use enough words.
I don't use enough words. Like, you got to throw an emoji in. Like, if I don't throw an emoji in, apparently I'm mad all the time. You got to throw in like a laughing face or like a smiley face. And
see, you and I have the same kind of voice because I think my voice comes off when I'm dealing with my family. I have an 11 and a 13-year-old because this is the face of optimism. Right? So I have an 11 and a 13-year-old and my wife who's wonderful, but somehow I'll say things and, they'll go, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I asked you to hand me that rag. I asked you, can you bring your clothes down? And I'm like, does it really sound like I'm going,
Yeah.
But I'm shocked by it, right?
Apparently
I'm totally shocked. Yeah. People have resting bitch face. I guess I have resting bitch voice.
Yeah. I think I have that too.
Yeah, well, if I need some emojis, that's what I probably need to do is just little things that I can hold up,
Yeah.
hold up little,
Oh,
the guy with the cowboy hat. Look, it's
yeah.
just me being cute.
Just being funny, I swear. Yeah. But
Well,
like, you guys will know if I'm mad. Like, I very rarely, uh, so Brittany, who's kind of like my right hand gal, we were talking about some employees at the store and they're like scared to talk to me and like think I'm going to yell at them. I'm like, Brittany, honest with me. Have I ever like raised my voice at anyone? And she's like, Mina, I don't get it because I can talk directly to you. You've never yelled at anyone. You've never hit anyone. You've never like even like you just don't do that. But I don't know why people just
here's
are.
my take. It's the fame part. I mean,
Yeah.
as little fame as I have, right, in my industry, in my thing, I would have people that would be scared to death to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I'd find out from other people, oh, well, they're step. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I've never said anything. Nobody at work can ever sit back that they said and watch me go off the rails. I've never done it. And it's like, yeah, but you're you. And I think especially because your level of fame is, again, you're national, you're
Yeah.
worldwide. And that's not a you issue. That's a them issue.
Well,
That
that whether it's true or not, I'm gonna take it because it takes one thing off my problem plate. Okay, if
well,
it's not a me thing, then I can't fix it.
it's true because then it becomes that because when you can sit back and go, I didn't do anything. I've
Yeah.
not done anything. As you just said, you went through the checklist and then you start need to go, and at some point, maybe you just need to go and have a mocktail with them or a cup of coffee
Yeah.
and go, listen, have you listened to the podcast? Do you know I have no hair on my booty? Do you know that? Because you know that. You know that if you listen to my
Well,
podcast.
and so many of my employees, like when people do, you guys all know, like I am the least uppity person in the world. I am very open. I'm like, we don't even can't afford porta parties on our job sites. I'm pooping in bags in basements. Like I am as down to earth as it gets, but it's still, even my husband this morning, he was like, I remember the dude that owns like the apartment companies that he worked at. He was like, no one wanted to get drinks with him or invited him to the Christmas party because he's the fucking owner. He's like, you're not even the boss, like you're the owner. So that's just part of the thing. Like people aren't going to be direct with you or have like a friendship or a relationship. And that's, you just have to be okay with that because you're not one of them. You're not like one of the employees at the store, even though I just spent the last 3 hours there, like resetting the floor. It's just different. And I get it. But I also, at the same time, while I don't care, I really want everyone to like me and us all to be friends and it to be great. But it just
Yeah,
doesn't
well,
happen.
think about the earlier jobs you had. You didn't hang out with the owner of the restaurant. You didn't hang
No.
out with the owner, the real estate. I
Yeah.
mean, that's we sit back and we think, oh, well, so and so thinks, they're the CEO. They think they're better. And it's like, no, it's
Yeah.
because a lot of times it's because you treat them different,
Yeah.
right? I've
Yeah.
met people who were like big damn deals that I didn't know were big damn deals, right? And they were just the nicest people and never, as a matter of fact, there used to be my wife's work. There was a guy I'd always hang out with, we'd laugh and talk and stuff like that. And then one day it's announced that he's the new CEO of this huge company.
Yeah.
And I texted him and I said, if I'd have known you were that damn big of a deal, I'd have treated you better. I said, at what point were you going to tell me? Oh yeah, I'm kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal around here.
I'm just throwing that out there a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
So Good Bones ended.
Yes.
We're done.
Yes.
We wrapped it up. First of all, the idea, because I do want to catch a little bit of the history. What would you come up? I mean, would you approach? Did you guys have an idea? Did you watch HGTV and go, oh, we could do this?
No, I mean, this was before like social media was so big and before influencers were a thing and, people were just being plucked out of oblivion and made into things. And as you know, like my family's definitely the one that people are always like, oh my God, you should have your own show. Like that. Oh, it's so wild. So there was always that, but I just had a Facebook page for Two Chicks and a Hammer. I had my real estate license and I would put the projects that my mom and I were working on there. And gal from a production company found our Facebook page and called and said, have you guys ever thought about making a TV show? And I think that was probably my response. I was like, not really, but people say we're just really crazy, so we should. And then it just all kind of happened after that.
Wow. And in Indianapolis, that's the thing I love about HGTV is that they're also geographically centered. I mean, a lot of Canadian stuff. We know that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have the guys in Michigan and Detroit, and you guys were Indianapolis, and there's the girl Allison in Chicago. Everybody has their own little region.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And I found it interesting when I was listening to one of your podcasts that you were talking about your fears and some of the insecurities you have. And you would sit back and say, I'd see these shows on HGTV or something, and they'd be doing all these all-star things and stuff like that. And I go, why am I not on that show? Does that happen a lot? Because I did not think about it until you said it. Because, it's not our world. We don't think that way.
I mean, and that, I guess kind of what I was alluding to earlier, like no matter what level you're at, it's really hard not to compare yourself with other people. So where most people would be like, shut the fuck up. You had a TV show for 8 seasons. Like you made it. Yeah, like I see things now. I'm like, oh, I wasn't asked to judge Rock the Block this time. Like, is someone mad at me, or did I do a bad job last time? Or, the content that goes out for Christmas, I'm like, oh, no one asked me to like do any of the content. I wonder why. Like those thoughts just happen. Like, I think that's just human nature. It's just at a weird, different level. And it's not like interpersonal, like because I'm seeing them because they're all on TV and on big on social media. So it's not like it's in my friend group or something that I know this happened, or, so-and-so's moving up in the ranks or what it looks like. But there's definitely that same kind of comparison, I think. And it's not like I am friends with a lot of people on the network. And it's just something that happens across the board. I think at whatever level you're at, you compare on your level. And it's wildly unhealthy. And I try really hard not to, but I do.
Can I make you not feel weird and just tell you, I love you so much. I just enjoy the heck out of this. What's it like to do when you're like Rock the Block, when you're doing the judging? And not only that, but you're doing the judging on other hosts.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because even if I were to walk through and I was like, there's nothing I hate. This is all done perfectly. This is brilliant. You can't say that. You have to say all the good, and then you have to give some constructive feedback. You just have to. And sometimes like there's just a lot of constructive feedback, but you're literally judging someone else and what they do and if they're doing it well or not. And ain't nobody like that. Like you don't want the negative. So it's hard to give, and it's definitely hard to get, like, cause I've been on both ends now. Some of the, I can't remember. There was something about my kitchen that one of the judges said that I was like, that's the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard. Like, why would that come out of your mouth? And now after being on the judging end, I'm like, oh, you have to come up with something. You just do like, oh, well, the metal you chose for your faucet's going to leave a lot of fingerprints. That's a dumb thing to say, but maybe it's true. I don't know. That's the constructive feedback someone could come up with. So it's tricky for sure.
Well, and that's what you see when, like, that's what drives everybody crazy about House Hunters. And I'm sure you do the same thing with the girl who goes, I don't like the color of the cabinets. I don't like the hardware on the drawers and stuff. And anybody who owns a house is going, what the hell are you actually talking? But I'm sure they've been told, you have to come up with something.
Yeah.
You have to come up with something to say, I don't like this. Whether you even don't like it or not, you have to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to have balance in it. They're always looking for like the yin and the yang of everything.
All right, I'm going to take a quick break to pay for this, and I'm going to come back because I want to talk. As you can tell, yes, she's a TV show, but my God, do I love this podcast. All right, we're coming right back with Mina Starsiak Hawk.
At Reed Animal Hospital, they treat your pet as if it was their own. Now, I'm a very satisfied customer. I can tell you they mean that. It's not a chain. It truly is about helping you and your pet enjoy life together. Dr. David Reed and his entire staff take the time to get to know you and your pet. I can tell you what I like. He's helped me better understand what my dog Luna needs and how I can take care of her more efficiently and kindly. Find them online at reedanimalhospital.com. 2 locations, Saratoga and Campbell. Little secret from me to you, Dr. Reed actually gives you his cell number so he can answer your questions and concerns. They really are committed to you and your pet. reedanimalhospital.com.
I'm with Mike and Brenda Council with another real Mike Council plumbing and rooter story. Let's talk about the early days. What was it like?
Well, when we first started, the phone was by the bed.
So just the two of you?
Exactly.
And I would answer the emergency
She'd
calls
answer.
in the middle of the night. I'd wake up and answer them.
2 o'clock, I'm headed out the door.
So 30 years ago.
30 years and 6 months.
But I hear Mike Council Plumbing might have had its beginnings when you were, what, a kid?
Yeah, I grew up in a little one-room shack, and we had an outhouse out back.
An outhouse?
That's correct.
Oh, my.
And ended up with a great appreciation for indoor plumbing.
I guess. And when you finally got it?
It was a great day.
Since 1993, the people of San Jose and the South Bay have trusted Mike Council Plumbing and Rooter for all their plumbing needs. From emergencies like a drain backup or water leak, maybe you need a new water heater or fixture installed, a gas appliance hooked up. Give Mike Council a call at 408-217-1002 or go to mcplumbing.com, an official partner of the San Jose Sharks.
You're in clean hands with Mike Council Plumbing and Rooter.
So I want to tell you about our new sponsor, the Gym Guys. I have been working out with them for over a year now. It all started with the pandemic and there was no place to go. The gyms were closed, all that kind of stuff. I found the Gym Guys because they come to you. The commute is theirs. Isn't that one of the worst parts of working out is you have to factor in the commute time? Not with the Gym Guys. And it's more motivating. It's one thing to say, I'm going to work out today. It's another thing if you know, like, I have Luciana coming over today at 11:15. I got to be ready for it. And then they change the workouts up for you. They give you an app, so when you're working out on your own, you know how to do it right and what you're trying to do. And they also give you access to a nutritionist. It's all there for you. You can take it as, if you're just starting your journey, or maybe you want to take your journey to the next level. They've even got a contest on how you can win 100 free sessions with your friends and coworkers. It's at thebiggestmover.com, thebiggestmover.com. But you'll find the Gym Guys on the web, GYMGUYZ.
So, one more thing about the whole HGTV that who are your friends that are outside of the, that are people we would know?
I mean, like the original Rock the Block crew. So Leanne Ford, who doesn't have an active show anymore, but her and her brother, awesome. And we will randomly text and chat. Alice and Victoria, same thing. Brian Patrick Flynn, who does Urban Oasis, and The Dream Home. We message all the time. He's fabulous and will send me hilarious things about my husband and his gray sweatpants. And we will just die laughing. But Jasmine Roth, a lot of the people that I've overlapped with in work. And then my manager represents the twins that are in, oh my God, they're Northeast. I can never remember, Seattle-ish area. So there's
the girls, the unsellable houses.
Yes. Yeah. So there's some overlaps there as well. But I haven't in a while, but I got to do a handful of things with Drew and Jonathan Scott. And I think I've probably said this to both of them, but I'm they are the nicest, most hardworking Canadian robots I've ever met. They just they have got it figured out. They bust a move. They get more done, the two of them. And I know they have a great team, but they function like 20 humans. It's wild how good they are at what they do. So, I think I called Drew and he was in Italy for his wedding. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You didn't have to answer my call. You can call me back later.
Call Jonathan. He's just traveling with Zoe Deschanel right now. Go ahead. Give him a yell.
No big deal. Yeah.
Normal. I do have to say, I enjoyed Leanne Ford's show. Mm-hmm. And Steve, that was also an interesting family dynamic. And she's just got an unusual eye. I mean, it's something that I'm not sure I'd buy a house, that I would have her decorated, but my gosh, I find it interesting.
It's very unique. And when we did Rock the Block, I can't remember what exactly she said, but it was like, every home I want to make like the home you would book that you were going on vacation to stay at. Like, I want it to be that amazing. And I think from a designer standpoint, like, some people can live like that. I can't live in that home that I would want to book, with the beautiful stacked stone backsplash. Because in my head, I'm like, oh my God, my kids would throw their chocolate milk in it. And then how do I clean it? So it's this very like high end design that she does so incredibly well. And I think like the pockets she's been able to do it in, geographically, like it works for her. I don't think I could do it in the Midwest just because it's just a different like lifestyle, different standard of living. But she's really good at it. She's very, very unique. I mean, on Rock the Block, she like unassembled her whole house. She was like, put trim back on. No, we're taking the trim off. We're pulling the floor up. We're going to have concrete floors. We're going to have no floor molding. And it looked so cool.
It did. And then, yeah, I think, yeah, the whole dynamic with Steve. I mean, there's a lot of family thing. You're talking about, you talk about the Scott brothers, and of course you and your mother, and there was Cody and Tab. And, there's just, so if that whole family thing, but yeah, would, I just love that, Steve. I want to do this. I want to do that. And here you go. Okay.
Okay. And that's him. He is like the coolest cucumber I've ever met.
Well, you talk about the contractors you were just having to yell with and scream with, Did you ever tell her, how lucky you are? I want to do this. I want to rip all the trimming off and put it.
Like, okay.
I'm going to do this. And I'm going to go ride my motorcycle. Is that okay? That's what I'm going to do.
I've got 10 people telling me what I'm doing is a dumb idea and I should do it differently, and they're not going to do it. Like, I thought I was the boss. I think I'm confused in life. I don't think I'm actually the boss. I think I just think I'm the boss, but I'm not.
Here's the truth. You cannot not be the boss. And I say that in the most loving way possible, because you're focused. And that's what drives people crazy, because most people, are not focused. And more important than anything, and I've been trying to teach my children this since they were born. Pay attention. Just pay attention.
Yeah.
If you pay attention, half of life, 75% of life gets easier.
Yeah.
Because now you're dealing with all the people who don't pay attention, right? And you do. That's what makes your podcast fun. It's what makes it interesting, is because nothing gets by you. And that's why you are always going to be in a position of leadership, because you pay attention.
This is so silly, but so I waited tables a lot at a lot of different places, and I started as a hostess. And then I would be expo, which is the person that like runs the food and helps on the back end. And those were my two favorite jobs. And then I would also be responsible for like training people. And it really does seem like people fall into two camps. Either they just don't get it, or they see the equation of like, this person's almost done, but they're going to sit really long. And this person, like, they just like intake all the information and then can stack it out and expedite it in a way that makes sense. And whether that was like running food or hosting, it was always fun for me, because again, it was like an equation and like being good at it and guesstimating like the right amount of time for people and where I can put these different parties and how I can move the tables to accommodate the different parties. And just like thinking 10 steps ahead makes your job so much easier, but not a lot of people either like to do it or are good at it. And that's what I've always said. Like, I can train someone on a lot of things. Like, I can train you on construction, but having that, I can see the next 10 steps so I can put them in the right order, I think is something that is probably teachable, but more like an innate thing that you kind of grow up with or don't. And I think it's like invaluable.
You can teach it, but my point is you can't make people pay attention.
Yeah.
It's just like in the food service industry, when I can guarantee you did something that a buddy of mine owns a couple of high-end restaurants, and he's got a couple of waiters who make 6 figures.
Yeah.
Right. And he was telling me that these guys realize it's your night, that you're coming to my restaurant and it's your night. And there's something going on. And he realized maybe it's a happy occasion, sometimes a sad occasion. And he goes, this guy figures it out. And he meets your need because he's watching everything. He's watching all the clues. He's watching all of that. And I guarantee you did that in the food service industry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, yeah, taking in all the information, no matter what it is, whether it's at a restaurant or in your job or, in a social setting, like just paying attention to the different cues and then reacting in the most like productive way, I think is a huge asset. That I feel so old. Like the younger generation just doesn't get it. They don't want to work and blah, blah, blah. But it's different. Like when I was graduating from college, first of all, college is like a whole different bag of worms. Now I wouldn't require my kids to go, but a $40,000 a year salary was like, this is incredible. Like I have a job out of college, I'm making 40 grand. And now it's just like, well, if I'm not getting six figures, F this, like I'm worth so much more. And I'm like, you have no experience in life. What are you talking about? Like you just learned how to wipe your own butt, right? I don't understand. And it's just this sense of entitlement that seems like there's like a chunk of an age group that I just don't understand. Like I started working when I was 15 and I wanted my own money and I wanted that freedom. And it's just not like that.
Yeah, I had my first job at the age of 9. I hooked up
There you
cows
go.
to a milking machine, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and I worked through it. But by the same token, yeah, my entire goal when I was getting out of college was to make $1,000 a month. Because if I could make $12,000 a year, that would dwarf anything anyone in my family had ever made.
Yeah.
Ever, right? I would be by default the richest person in the entire family, right?
Yeah.
And that was always my goal. But you're right, and I hear people talk about, especially since you're in the housing industry, you can't when it goes to college. And what did you major in, by the way?
I got a general studies degree and a couple minors. I got a business minor in sociology, but I just did general studies.
But you talk about, and we have this conversation here, is that people say, well, our young generation can't afford a house. And I'm like, do you think it was any easier for us to buy a $50,000 a year, a $50,000 home when we were making $600 a month?
Yeah.
Do you think it was any easier?
Yeah.
Because
the proportions are comparable. It's just all gone up together.
But the difference is, and maybe you're finding this, but these kids who say, well, we can't afford a house, but they'll have an iPhone.
Well, yeah, and you can't afford maybe the house you want.
Yeah, but you're not willing to sacrifice some of the stuff. You're still wearing $400 jeans. You're still wearing, and it's like, wow, to get, when we bought our first house, there was a lot of ramen.
Yeah.
There was a lot of ramen, a lot of things. There was no going out.
Well, and this whole idea, like when I was younger, the saying was like, dress for the job you want, like do the job you want, like go above and beyond. And then eventually you're going to be doing it so well, someone's going to notice and be like, oh, you should actually have this job. And if you would say that to like the younger group, they'd be like, why would I ever go above and beyond? Like, if you want me to do that job, pay me for that job. And it's just a different mindset now. And a lot of, like, there's so many like social media accounts that I see that are posting stuff about, I can't even remember the term, but it's like where you're clocking in, but you're like on vacation. You're like, I might as well.
Quiet quitting or something like that.
Yeah, something, whatever the quitting is.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Quiet
quitting. I'm like, what the fuck is that? What? That's a douchebag thing to do. Like, do your job, quit, like figure it out. If you want a different job, get a different job. But just showing up every day and not telling anyone that I'm just not going to do anything, I can't understand. Like, I can't. But that's a thing, and it's weird.
I've tried to explain to my sons. I'm like, and here's the good news. But according to studies, and because I have to pay attention to all this stuff, the younger generation, the alpha generation, is getting it. They realize if they work hard, they will blow past the millennials and the ones right above them. Right? Because the same thing. I've had so many friends of mine who say, I had a buddy of mine who got out. He retired from the high tech industry because he had so many people who would tell him they would not work 6 days a week if they needed to save the company, or they wouldn't work extra hours to save their job. And HR wouldn't let him fire him. And he's like, I'm done. I'm just done. I'll retire. It's done for me like that. But they're starting to learn that if they work hard. So you're starting to see a lot of 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who are uber at it. They are, let's go. Because in your situation, if you have a 19-year-old guy come in or girl come in and start working hard for you and they bust their ass, aren't you going to find ways to promote them and keep doing it?
100%. 100%. But if you're going to come in and do the bare minimum to keep your job and expect something better, that's what I can't, like, the sense of entitlement I don't get. Where like, well, I'm entitled to get a raise every year and no matter how I perform, and I'm entitled to vacation, and I'm entitled to like never work 41 hours a week. I only do 40 because it's my emotional and mental health. And, like, it's just different. You know what was funny? So this is totally off topic, but I think speaks to like the generational differences. I was at the dentist because I had to get Botox in my jaw because I'm a fucking hot mess and I'm stressed out and I have black jaw. And she took these x-rays and she says, you have these calcium deposits in your jaw. Did you have like a head injury when you were younger? That's like, that usually will create those. And I was like, I don't know. She's like, have you ever had a concussion? I was like, I played soccer. I rode horses. She's like, yeah, but did you ever go to the hospital for a concussion? I was like, look, lady, if I had a concussion, no one would have taken me to the hospital. Like I'm sure I got hit in the head a million times. I was the sweeper in soccer. My horse rolled over me. I bet I've had half a dozen, but it was just like, oh, you feel a little nauseous? Don't fall asleep for a few hours. You don't go to the hospital. And not saying that that's the right thing. Not saying that. But it's just different. Like now you go to the hospital if a kid sneezes wrong.
I broke my arm when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old.
But you walked on it for a few days, didn't you?
And I broke, and this was like at 9 o'clock in the morning. And finally about 6 o'clock at night, because I never stopped crying, my parents finally said, well,
maybe we should take.
And I'd broken it in 3 places. So that's
See, again, and I just want to make sure people listening, like, I don't think one or the other is right. I'm not saying like letting your kid have a broken arm all day is the right thing to do. But I think as a society, with most things, we tend to swing the pendulum really far one way and then we overcorrect. And I think we're kind of getting into that middle ground now where it's like, okay, we don't need to be helicopter parents, but we also don't necessarily want to be our parents because they were kind of kooky.
Well, listen, I understand how helicopter parents got created. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they would
overcorrected hugely.
Yeah, they would let me wander out in the back of my grandmother's house in the South that was just full of everything: creeks, waters, bears. I mean, anything, wildcats, anything that could have eaten a 4-year-old. Yeah. Right? And they would just let me wander forever. So
go out, come back for dinner.
Yeah. And so I totally get how we were created. And as I was sitting there telling because I have 4 sisters and a brother. And I was telling my sister that because I'm an oops baby. My oldest sister's almost 20 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't believe they would because both of my parents have passed. I'm like, I can't believe they would do that. And my sister pointed out, and she goes, Gary, they were from the generation that you expected to lose 1 or 2. You had large families because you didn't think you would get them all to adulthood, right? That's the way they were raised. Everybody you had talked to, there was, mom had 9 kids, but only 6 made adulthood.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
And so when you start understanding how they were raised, did he come back? No, I think something must have got him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, thinking about my dad and my mom's parents, I'm like, yeah, no, you make sense. I know my grandparents. You totally make sense. And let's just try to make some adjustments.
So we're getting there. Yeah. And that's the thing. Again, I take it back to the podcast because, you've been up front about it. You and your mother aren't on speaking terms right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've respected the privacy about why that is. So I'm not.
To be honest, I couldn't even answer the question if I wanted to. I feel like it's just so many things over so many years at this point. I don't know. And I don't know if even if we hashed it out, either of us could put a pin on it.
Wow.
Which is just tough. It's not like this is the problem, here's the solution. It's been, it's been up and down since my parents got divorced when I was 3. And we've had super, super close times and times where we didn't speak for like a year and a half, 2 years. But and now so much time has passed and so many things have happened. I think it would be really hard to say, this is the thing, now that we've identified it, let's fix it, which sucks.
Wow. Yeah, and that's again, it's one of the reasons I'm such a fan of yours is because your bravery, and you can downplay it all you want. I don't care, but your bravery is inspiring, right? That here I am, and I'm a lot older than you, and sitting back and going, wow, are you willing to go there? Would you be willing to go there? Would you be willing to do that with your best friend to go, here's what I'm thinking. Here's my insecurities. Here's that. Here's this. Here's my backstory. Here's all the stuff nobody knows.
Yeah.
And that's when I sit back and go, you have a singular talent. I was laughing at one of your episodes because you were thinking about doing the subscription service, right?
Uh-huh.
So you could get rid of a lot of the trolls.
Yeah.
Is the whole point, 99 cents a month, just a little, just to get
It's
rid
a
of all.
barrier to entry, a tiny barrier to entry.
But you would love to grow the podcast. I mean, who wouldn't? Who doesn't want to be Joe Rogan? Who doesn't want to get $100 million and go, peace out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? How's that going, by the way? Did you thought about it? Did you do it? What?
So many people were just like, while I love your podcast, like it's just a rule. I'll never pay for content. I just won't do that. Because if I was paying for everyone's content that I wanted to consume, I wouldn't be spending 99 cents a month. I'd be spending $50 or $30 or whatever it is. And I mean, a good chunk of people that were like, yes, 100%, I would do that. I'm down. But more often than not, people just saying that barrier to entry would be enough to just not enter.
And that's the difference between having a national platform is that, unless you build up the brand, this is just two podcasters talking now.
Yeah.
But, I've generated my brand and stuff like that. Unless you're willing to do something unique with your brand.
Yeah.
And luckily you have that. It's fascinating. I do want to touch on before all my time is up with you because I'm savoring every second. I'm the child of an alcoholic, and the way I've never had a problem with alcohol, never have. I use alcohol, but as I try to explain to my kids, and my wife came from a teetotaling family, right? And so when she got to college, she'll be the first to tell you she went off the reservation. She went.
I had some of those friends.
Yeah, and I never did. And the difference is I saw the final outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I saw as bad as it could get.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's never made me, to this day, as I was talking to my kids the other night, you see, Dad, I have a drink. On the weekends, I may have 2 drinks, probably over a 3-hour period while we're watching a movie that we've seen 19 times before. Gosh, I hate it. That's the worst part of parenting. But you guys, if I could, there's so many, I wouldn't start you off with that episode. I would say to go have a couple of funs, go do the butthole and the blasphemations and the whichever one that one is.
Yeah.
Do that.
Maybe
podcast.
Don't go into the super heavy death, drinking, destruction ones.
Yeah, do the fangirling, do any of those. And then when you're ready, then do the why we went sober.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, one of the things that just wore me out when he goes, you said, are you getting emotional? And he goes, yes, because I can't look at you.
Yeah.
Oh, girl.
Yeah. It was tough. We did 2 on the drinking, and they were both tough episodes, but ones that he knows too. I mean, that we got so much feedback on that it was just helpful. And I have a whole episode about, the one where why I don't shut the fuck up. And it really is because I think so many people are just so ashamed of the experiences they have. They don't talk about them. And then when you don't talk about them, you don't have the opportunity for 10 of your other friends to say, oh my God, I went through the same thing, or I'm going through the same thing. And that's just, people underestimate how powerful that is, just knowing that you're not in this little bubble. And there's been a lot of people who think I should stop doing the podcast and think I should stop talking about personal things, not just my family. Like, I get messages all the time on Instagram, like, what you're doing is so disrespectful. I can't believe you would do this, airing your family's dirty laundry. And I've had very like reflecting, because anytime anyone says anything, I don't immediately like brush it off. Like, I try to think like, okay, do I have, like, does this need weight? Like, where is my part in this? Is there something I should adjust? And I did really think about it, but I think the good it does to be able to like offer that shared experience to other people is so much more powerful than the people that it's upsetting to share the experience. And that's a big part of like why Steve talks about what he talks about and is willing to do it, because there were so many people that reached out and were just like, thank you so much for fill in the blank.
Well, and the hard part is, I mean, because, what you do is you take anybody else's story and you reflect upon yourself, right?
Yeah.
You start going about how my issue was.
Yeah.
And the truth of it is my father was truly self-contained. As I always tell my sons, if I had to sum him up in one word, disappointing. He would find a way to disappoint you. He would disappoint you every single time. Steve's story was, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even think that could happen.
Yeah.
Because you throw in homelessness, you throw in his mother was a really bad
There's a
apple
lot of
father,
twists and turns.
and him trying to save them and give them money and push them away and set up boundaries and come back. And it's one of those where you get done and you need a moment.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. And so when you get a chance, tell them thank you. You guys, that's why you should never shut the fuck up. And you're exactly right. And don't look at the comments.
I know.
Hire somebody to look at comments. You can get that now. You can find somebody in the Philippines who'll read the comments, and then they will just let you know the ones you need to know about. And then you never have to worry about it one more time again.
Yeah. Yeah. The
So
comment section is definitely no good.
So what's coming up next? What's on the agenda? Because I know you've been sharing some things about, here I am with my furniture and.
Yeah. So we did separate decisions, but I made the decision to close the brick and mortar store a couple months ago. And so that closes at the end of this month here. And since making that decision and kind of closing that chapter, another opportunity to open at a new location presented itself. And it was kind of nice because I got to re-choose, like, okay, no, I do want to do this again because I think I can do it better and I can do it different. So the store is going to reopen about 30 minutes north of us. And we haven't said like exactly where it is yet, but I'm super excited to kind of take a fresh stab at that, because closing it definitely doesn't feel like a win. It feels like a bit of a failure, even though it was a brick and mortar that we opened in the middle of COVID, which is stupid. But so the store will get a new life. Steve and I are working on a lake house we bought, and that's getting filmed. So that's fun. And then other than that, I really have no idea what I'm doing. And literally every day I'm trying to figure out which thing I should do. Like, where does what I like doing with what I'm good at doing, with what makes money doing, like where do those three things overlap? And then pick that thing. And I haven't really got there yet.
As long as you don't do 13, that's not normal, right? 13 houses at once. I mean, what is the most you would recommend to ever try to do at one time? And that's if you have a stable crew.
Yeah, I mean at four.
Four
is, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. See, again, you pay attention.
Yeah.
There's no way you can control 4 houses if you're not paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you got to be able to be at every single one. Like before the show, we were doing 2 a year and I was at everyone and I saw everything every day. And when you're filming full time, you can't do any job well other than film. And whether that's, back end, front end, I just couldn't. And so none of the things really got to a point where they were to the standard I wanted them to be at. And that just sucks. Like I don't want to be creating things that I'm not proud of. And so I think this is an opportunity to kind of reset that and do the things that I am proud of, that I can oversee, that I can make sure this is happening the way I want it to and the way I expect it to. And it's actually a representation of me and my abilities versus a representation of what I could try to throw together.
The personal question, and since I know you're not afraid of personal questions, but in this situation, you can tell me, I really don't want to answer that, but I don't see how you wouldn't want to. Hold on as I just try to extrapolate this. Can people hire you? Like if somebody in Los Angeles wanted you to do their stuff or design it or whatever, is that a thing you do?
Well, and I've tried to do online consultations before, launched online consultations and was so excited, and literally not a single fucking human booked one. And I was like, wow, that's an ego check. Great. Okay. We'll move on from that. And yeah, that's a fact. And then the problem with them being long distance, and because people ask all the time if we'll do that. And I say, my answer kind of jokingly is like, are you a trust fund baby? Or are you independently wealthy? Do you just have fuck you money? Because finding a good crew locally that I know for a reasonable rate is hard. Traveling to another state, you're going to spend 3 times as much to get, the best contractor that everyone knows is the best contractor. So I'm not worried that I'm going to provide a poor product. And then your traveling cost, it's just so many things that end up adding up that it's hard to do in a way that is functional for most humans on like a reasonable income. That being said, I've always left the door open. You got a home on an island, you want me to come stay out for a couple months and do some fun things, I'm down. But
there is so much money in some people. You've met some of these people. There's some people there's FU money.
Yeah.
And then the next level is F me money. F me money is I will lose money to piss you off.
Yeah.
I will eat $100 million to
just
do
to make a
off.
point, or
Yes.
Yeah.
So those people are out there. I am going to be very judicious with your time because I know exactly how busy you are. But I had as much fun, a little more than I even thought I would have.
Good.
Because I'm not going to say the thing of, if we lived close, we'd be friends. No, we wouldn't. But every time we saw each other, because
we would have a grand time.
Every time we saw each other, we would have the best time.
Yeah.
And then I love hanging out with you, but I'd really like to hang out with Steve and say, hey, listen, I'm not helping. Just let's give that up. Okay. All right. You go do your Hawk fitness, whatever. I'm going to sit here with this beer right here and I'm just going to be happy to watch you. That's what I want. It's Mina AF. Mina Starsiak Hawk. You're the best.
I've had a lovely time. Thank you.